So again, I'll just repeat myself. So an equation has an equal sign, and if you look at expressions, okay, there's no equal sign to be found. All right, so that's the only difference. Now, well, equations, you can write it any way you want as long as you include the equal sign. For example, I can write 3m plus n equals to 40. So that's an equation because it has an equal sign, right? Equal sign right there. So another example could be 3x plus 2y take away z equals 0. Okay, that's also an equation because it has an equal sign, right? Now, for this lesson, I don't want you guys to think about what is the value of x, what is the value of y, what's the value of n, okay? Today, we are just focusing on understanding the terminologies. We're not solving anything. We're not solving anything. We're not finding what something equals, right? We're just learning the terminologies. So we've done equations. So let's look at expressions. So let's look at expressions, these guys here. So expressions, okay, they're kind of like equations, but they don't have an equal sign, right? So here are some examples, okay? So with expressions, it has two or more terms, right? I'll explain what a term is in a second. So if you think about it, so here's one term, and here's another term. Okay, so this one's one term, two terms, three terms, four terms. And here we've got two terms, one terms, two terms. So a term, okay, is separated by a plus or a minus sign. Okay, so that's what a term is. So an expression is very similar to in equations, but it does not contain any equal sign. All right, so I've just talked about what a term is, but up here is a little bit more in depth. Okay, so a term. Okay, so a term can be a pronumeral. Okay, a pronumeral is just a letter. Okay, okay, a pronumeral means letter. Now, pro means in place of, and the word numeral, I think you guys all know what that means. Okay, that's number. Okay, so a pronumeral is something that is in place of a number, and we use letters to represent numbers. Okay, so for example, I'll just write down some examples here. So if I write 2x, all right, what's the pronumeral? The pronumeral is x. All right. If I wrote down 2, well, why did I say q? 2q, then the pronumeral would be q. Okay, so the pronumeral, I'm having trouble speaking today. The pronumeral is just the letter. Okay, it's just a letter that represents a number. All right. So a term can be a pronumeral or a number on its own. Okay, or a combination of pronumerals and numbers multiplied or divided. Now that's kind of confusing. So let us break that down. So a pronumeral, sorry, a term. So I'll do some examples here. A term, okay, can be a pronumeral. So I can just write down m. So this is a term, right? Another example could be a number on its own. So I can write the number 4, or a combination of pronumerals and numbers multiplied. So that means I can write 4 times m. Okay, and now 4 times m can be simplified to 4m. Okay, so in algebra, we like to shortcut things, right? That's why there's algebra, because we don't want to write a whole, a sentence with English words. So we can shortcut that by just writing using numbers and letters. So 4 times m, that's just the same as 4m. If I write down 99 times, I don't know, let's say y, okay, that's just the same as 99 y's. Okay, so that's what this part here means. Okay, so a combination of pronumerals and numbers multiplied. Okay, that's a term right there. That's a term right there. Okay, or divided. by or divided. Okay, so what does that part then look like? It looks something like this. If I go 4 divided by p, this is the same as 4 over p. Okay, that's 4 over p. And 4 over p, that's also a term. So that's a term. Okay, so here are some more examples. I'm just going to highlight it so you guys know what I'm referring to. So terms could be a number by itself, or a pronumeral by itself, or the pronumeral and the number being multiplied together, excuse me, or a combination of both, right? So 3 times n divided by 2. So that's a term. So again, a term is separated by a plus and minus sign, right? A term is separated by a plus and minus sign. So for example, let's come down to our expression. If we look at 5n plus 2, how many terms are there? I want you guys to have a think about this. So hopefully you guys thought about it. So we've got one term here. We've got another term here. So we've got 2 terms. Okay, that's 2 terms. And for this one over here, for part B, 6a minus 7b plus b plus 2. There are 4 terms in this one. Okay, now we'll probably really look at the simplifying algebraic expression, okay, in the coming lessons. Okay, but right now you think of it as 4 terms. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 terms here. Okay, now this can be simplified to 3 terms, but I'll probably come back to that later. Okay, and in the last expression, g minus 8. Okay, you guys should know by now that there are 2 terms. So pretty straightforward. All right, let's keep going up. Right, so let's look at coefficient. All right, so sounds pretty fancy, the word coefficient. So coefficient, what does this word here mean? This means, okay, is if a pronumeral, okay, again, that's the letter. Pronumeral is just a letter, okay? If a pronumeral is multiplied by a number, the number is the coefficient. Okay, so we've got a term right here that we just spoke about. Okay, this term here, okay, is 5 times n. 5 times n. So the coefficient is 5. Okay, so the coefficient is 5. 5 is the coefficient. Now I'm just going to abbreviate this. All right. So we'll look at the next example. Okay, we'll look at negative 2x. Okay, so now in this example here, a lot of students make mistakes, and I mean a lot. So what do I mean by this? So if I were to ask you here, negative 2x, right? What is the coefficient of what's the coefficient of x? What is the coefficient of x? What number is x being multiplied by? All right, so you gotta be careful here. When I say be careful, you need to make sure you need to look at the sign in front of the 2 as well. Okay, so you need to make sure you look at the sign in front. All right, so the coefficient of x, the coefficient of x is negative 2. So let's do an example here. So if I just write down something here, so let's go 2m minus 3p equals 5. Okay, so now just to try to quiz you guys, what do I have here? What's this thing that I've highlighted? If you're brave enough to say something in chat, that'll be fantastic. Doesn't matter if you're wrong.
Is it an it's just an algebra question, right?
Yes, an algebra question, right? It is, but there's something unique about this thing that I've written down, and that is the equal sign. When you see an equal sign, that's an equation, okay? So here I've got an equation in my blue box right here. So first quiz is, okay, what are the pronumerals in my equation? What are the pronumerals in my equations? Come on, don't be shy.
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Nice try. Remember, pronumeral, we just covered that. The pronumeral is just the letter. Okay, so the pronumeral is just the letter. So the pronumerals is equal to M and P, right? What are the coefficients? What are the coefficients? Somebody just mentioned that before. So the coefficient, anyone? So the coefficient.
2 and 3.
Yeah, 2, correct, 2, and it's actually -3, but very, very close. So that is why before I mentioned here that a lot of students make a mistake over here when they're dealing with coefficient. You have to make sure you look at the sign as well. What's the sign in front of the 3? It's a negative, right? So the coefficient is 2 and -3. But if I were to ask you, what is the coefficient? What's the coefficient? Cough, oh my goodness. What is the coefficient of M? What would that be? What is the coefficient of M? Scarlett, want to be brave? Right, maybe she's not there. Don't know. All right. What's the coefficient of M? How about Ryan?
I'm not quite sure.
Not quite sure. That's all right. All right. So I'm just gonna maybe go back to my example. Maybe I didn't explain it clear enough. So we look back at this highlighted term over here. We've got 5n, right? So if I were to ask you what is the coefficient of n, what I'm asking is what number is n being multiplied by, right? So n is being multiplied by 5, right? 5n means 5 times n, right? Why can't I see this chat here? All right, yes, 2. Thanks, Miranda. So if I'm asking you what's the coefficient of m in this example here, all right, let me just put my arrow there so you guys know what I'm referring to. If I'm asking you what's the coefficient of m, what I'm asking you is what number is m being multiplied by, right? So what's in front of m? It's only one number there, right? It's only one thing there. Can't be anything else. Okay, so the answer is 2, right? Because m is being multiplied by 2. So if I ask you what's the coefficient of p, what would that be? How about
3.
Yeah, very close. Try one more time. It's not quite 3. What do I have above it? -3, right? -3. So, so when I ask you again, I just need to reiterate myself because sometimes, you know, teacher might need to say something over and over again to you know, start to sink in, right? So if I'm asking you what's the coefficient of p, all I'm asking you is what number, okay, is being multiplied by p. So what number is being multiplied by p? And all you're doing is you're looking for the number in front of p. And the number in front of p is -3, right? So that's that. Now, let me just come here. All right. So if there's any more questions, just put them into chat, guys. I'll answer it. Or you can stay back after the meeting and we'll do some more examples, okay? All right, so now let us look at constant. All right, what is a constant? So the word constant means to, if I said that I'm constantly drinking milk, that means I'm doing the same thing all the time, right? I'm drinking milk all the time. So, so staying the same, right? Now, in mathematics, the word constant means basically a number that doesn't change, right? So, for example, if I were to write down an expression, so my expression again could be 3y plus 4. So what is the constant in this expression? So the constant, again, is just the number that's by itself. What number is by itself? What do I mean by that? I'm talking about the 4 over here. Okay, see how the 4 is not being multiplied by any variable, or, sorry, pronumeral, I should say, right? So 4 is not being multiplied with any pronumeral, it's not being divided by any pronumerals, all right? So the number 4 here is by itself. We call that the constant. All right, so let's do another example. If I go 3, for some reason I really like the number 3. 3q plus b, and let's do plus 12. So what is the constant in this example? Okay, what is the thing? What is the number that's by itself? Do you see a number in there that is by itself? And
The 12.
is 12. Excellent. Thank you. It does take a bit of courage to say something on Teams, but I encourage you guys to participate more. But 12 is correct. 12 is the number by itself, right? What is the coefficient of Q? What is the coefficient of Q?
3.
3. Awesome. Okay, because 3 is being multiplied with Q, so the coefficient of Q is 3. All right, I'm gonna give you guys. Now I'm gonna give the next person, right, that get this question right, a gold star. All right, I'm just going to give you an internet gold star. Sorry, I don't have a real gold star to give you. I'm going to ask you, what's the coefficient of B? All right, what's the coefficient of B? All right, who's brave enough to answer this question? So it's a bit tricky, but
Is it 0?
Is it 0? I like it. I like that try. Is it 0? Is it 0B? Is B being multiplied by 0? I would have said the same thing, right? If I were
Would it be 1?
Would it be 1? You are correct. It is 1. Okay, it is 1 because if you have 0 B's, right? Think of this: if you don't have any apples, right? Let's say A is apple, right? If I don't have any apples, right, I would not write down what A. I wouldn't even write A. If I were to write A, I'm implying that there's an apple there, right? So the coefficient of B is actually 1, right? Because there is exactly 1 B there. There's 1 B, okay? So the coefficient of B is 1. Righto, let's go. All right, we're nearly done. I'm just going to go over these guys quickly.
Mr. Ong,
Yes.
sorry to ask, could you just go over that bit again? Like, I'm not quite sure, like, how you know how many there are.
Okay,
But,
so I'll just tell you the rule, right? If you ever see a letter by itself, right, in algebra, right, that means you have a 1 in front of it, like you have a 1 being multiplied by m. If you go 1 times m, the shortcut is just m, all right? If I have 1 times p,
okay.
1 times p, the answer is just p, right? If I were to set 0, if I were to say 0 times m, that's equal to 0, okay? So you probably learned this somewhere in primary school, that if you multiply any number by 0, you get 0, right? So if you were to like put a 0 in front of b, you're saying the coefficient of b is 0, you're saying that b is being multiplied by 0, right? Which is 0. But we got a B there, so might even confuse you a bit more. But if you don't understand what I'm saying, then you can just think of it like this, right? So if you see a number, so not a number, a pronumeral by itself, if you just see an M, oh, no, I don't have my highlighter up. All right, okay. My highlighter's not working. So you see M, P, or whatever it is, right? It has a coefficient of 1. Okay? Hopefully that answers that question. All right. So,
Yeah, thank you.
no worries. Let us look at these guys here. So, like I said before, right? Algebra is the language for mathematics, and we teachers or math teachers, we like to shortcut things, right? Where possible, and I think everyone like to shortcut things. So, so what do I mean by that? So here, let me, and again, this is freaking me out because for some reason my highlighter tool is not working. All right, so I'll just have to deal without it. So let's look at this part here. I'm just going to use arrow to point. All right, so what is the sum of the number and 4? So they're just referring to these guys over here on the left column. Excuse me. So it's just saying what's the sum of 3 and 4. So we can write that down. So we just say 3 plus 4, okay, which is equal to 7. All right, what about this one? What's the sum of, okay, sum, oh, by the way, guys, the word sum means to add. Well, I need to say that. So this word sum means to add. 5 and 4. So what is the sum of the number? And the number is 5, okay, and 4. So what's the sum of 5 and 4? And that's equal to 9, right? What is the sum of n and 4? So again, we're just adding. We're just adding 4, right? And now, guys, you notice I did not put anything. I didn't say that this is equal to anything because we're just writing an expression. We don't have to work it out. In fact, you cannot add this. You cannot add this. This is kind of like me saying, could you add one table and the number 4, right? So you got the number 4 and you're trying to add one table with the number 4. You can't add it. You're not going to end up with 4 tables, right? Because 4 is just a number and a table is a table. So they're two different objects, right? So you cannot add them. So you just leave it as it is. And for the last example, what is the sum of the number and 4? So the number now is y. Oh, my highlighter came back without me being conscious of it. So it'll be just y plus 4, right? So, okay, so the word difference here means to take away. So I'm going to put there, take away. Right, got to be mindful of the time. All right, I'm going to give you guys, by the way, guys, if you don't finish the work today, spend like another lesson to finish it off, okay? So it's really, really important that we all understand the terminologies because if we don't, then it's going to make learning a bit more difficult, okay? So the difference, so the word difference means just to take away, right? So what is the difference between 10 and the number? 10 and the number. So our number would be 3. Again, we're just referring to the numbers in the left column, which is these numbers here. All right, so it would be just 10 minus 4, and we can simplify that. That equals to 6. We can work that out. And then 10 minus 5, that's equal to 5, and so on. And now we've got 10 minus n. And again, we cannot work that out unless we know what n is. All right, so we just leave it. Now I'm just going to leave some of these for you to finish. I'm just going to do a bit of this one, and then we move up. Okay. So what is double the number? Okay, less 1. What is double the number less 1? Okay, that's kind of confusing. Less means again to take away. Okay, what is double the number less 1? So I'm just thinking double the number. So the number is 3. Okay, the number is 3. So it'll be double. Double means to multiply by 2. So we're going to go 2 times 3. And then less 1, we're just going to take 1 away. And we get 6 take away. Again, we've got to do the multiplication part first. So 6 take away 1, that equals to 5. Corbin asked, what is an exponent? So an exponent is, so I'll just answer your question quickly. So if I've got 4 to the power of 7, okay? If I've got 4 to the power of 7, 7 is the exponent, all right? So let's move to the next example here. What is 4 more? 4 more, so more means to plus, to add. Less means to take away, right? So 4 more, let me get rid of that. Draw. So what is 4 more than 3 times the number? Okay, we got to make sure we do the times first, okay, guys? So it's 3 times the number. So 3 times the number, what's the number? The number is 3, okay? So it will be 3 times 3, and then 4 more means to add 4, and we can work that out. So 3 times 3 is 9, plus 4 is 13. Geez, I'm a little bit hesitant there for a second. All right. So,
Mr.
yes.
Do we just leave the ones with the letters? Do we just leave them?
That's correct, because you cannot work out what it is, right? You cannot work it out what it is.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example here. I'm going to leave these guys for you to do. All right, I'll just do maybe one from this side here. So if I go, what is half the number? And if the number is y, so halving means dividing by 2. So it will be just y divided by 2. And we just leave that as it is because we don't know what the answer will be, right? The answer depends on what y is, right? So, the answer depends on what y is. That means that y can be anything, right? And if y can be anything, then y is a variable. All right, so that means you just leave it like this. Whoop, that should be highlighted. So you just leave it like that, right? So again, if I'm looking at this part here, what is double the number? And if the number is n, double means timesing by 2, then it will be just 2 times n, or 2n, okay? So you just leave that as it is because you cannot work out what that equals, right? Because n could be anything. N is our variable. All right. I think I'm going to leave it there, but I'll say one more thing. So sometimes math teachers, they use the word variable and pronumeral interchangeably, and sometimes we, especially me, I make mistakes by, just using, sometimes when we have an expression, I say this is a pronumeral, or when I have an equation, this is a variable, and like that. There is a subtle difference, but you guys don't need to worry about it too much. So when you see the word pronumeral, okay, you just think of it as, oh, it's just a letter. Okay, that's just a letter that represents a number, right? And you see the letter, I mean a variable, a letter, okay, that could represent any number. I don't know why I'm writing on an angle right here. Okay, so a letter that represents a number. Now, I apologize for taking a bit of time from you guys today, but I want to go through this a bit and make sure that you guys understood what we're doing. So a pronumeral is a letter that represents a number, okay? And a variable is a letter that could represent any number, okay? So just to give you guys one quick example, what I mean by that. So if I got, let's say, x plus 2 equals 5. So, who want to tell me what the value of x is? Anyone? Or bit afraid to get the wrong answer? So x plus 2 is 3. Awesome, thank you. So in this particular example, x is equal to 3. So x represents a number, right? X represents a number. So x is a pronumeral, okay? And if I wrote something like this, if I wrote 2n plus 4, okay? So now this here, n can be anything because we don't know what the value of n is, right? We don't know what the value of n is. So for this example, n is a number, sorry, n is a letter that could represent, okay, any number. Okay, so in this example here, n is a variable. And I think I'm going to leave it there. So I'm going to stop the video.